we've talked to Jonathan quite a few times, and I enjoy talking to Jonathan. So let's take a couple minutes and talk to Jonathan in Arizona. You're live with Eric and Dennis.
Hey, I'm surprised you remember me. It's been a while. That was nice.
Hey.
I like talking to you too.
What it says in the notes, you want to talk about objective morality.
Yeah, no, coincidentally, I guess because of the previous call, like this is a good segue to kind of get a little deeper into, I guess that conversation. So yeah, like the basic question I asked is secular morality objective? And sure. I guess we'll just start with that question.
Okay. It totally depends. There's a really, really unsatisfying answer, and I love it. And that is, if I set the objective, that becomes the objective, right? So if I'm on my way to the store, when I get to the store, I will have reached my objective. And so can the morality that I create be objective? Well, so long as I'm the one setting it. Sure. Absolutely. But I think the question that you're probably asking, go ahead.
Is
Dennis.
there an intrinsic morality to the universe, I think is what he's asking.
Is that what you mean, Jonathan?
That's a good way to form it, sure.
Yeah. So let's see. I definitely don't think we have our own Jiminy Crickets. So, that whole idea of an inner voice is not one that I subscribe to. But I think what's interesting is, does the universe have morality? Well, is the universe able to think? Well, we don't have a way to think outside of having a brain. All consciousness that we've been able to observe so far has been tied to having a brain.
Physical matter, yeah.
And so that being the case, I don't think that an outside party could do that. And even if an outside party says you should do this or you should do that, that's just their subjective opinion, isn't it? I mean, what makes a thing objective that way?
Right.
Mm-hmm. So the ultimate answer is no. There's no secular morality is not objective.
Yeah, I mean, before there were people, did the universe? Was there morality? I mean, morality is defined by the interaction of people, or the interaction of moral agents. And if there's no moral agents, there's no morality. Can you be immoral on like a deserted island? You're the only person on a deserted island. Is there morality? Is anything right or wrong then at that point?
Because if you believe in a classic kind of Christianity, masturbating would probably be immoral.
I guess
cursing God would probably be immoral. What are our commandments? Not observing the Sabbath, taking the Lord's name in vain, worshiping false idols. All those you can do on an island. Do you think those are all immoral things?
Right. Yeah. Anybody who doesn't believe in Christianity, I'm assuming, wouldn't accept anything in the Bible as to be objectively moral. But you said morality comes from moral people, so that's kind of circular, right? If you're moral, then by definition you're moral.
Well, so it's funny. I think the question needs to be phrased a little bit differently. See, when I kind of was in my deconversion process, I hit that question. Well, where does morality come from if it doesn't come from a God, right? But in that search, I was not really able to make any headway. And then I realized that I do have the observation that we do behave morally. So the question isn't where does it come from? It's why do we behave this way? Why do we call things moral? And what is that kind of objective? Well, I think it's very, very clearly follows what helps us survive. What creates the most well-being. The things that we do are, right. When it comes to morality like that, is if you're killing people all over the place, you're not going to survive as a species. The ones that wanted to kill people all over the place didn't survive to procreate, and those who do now, we isolate.
Yeah, but you're explaining the effect, which has nothing to do with the cause.
Well, actually, the thing is you're assuming the cause comes from outside of us. And that doesn't make any sense to me. Well, because how could you have a cause without a mind, without, some kind of authority to put it on us? I don't think there's an authority that can dictate morality to us.
Right, I understand you don't. So
Yeah.
if go ahead, Dennis.
And if it did dictate morality to us and we followed those moral rules, we would not be moral.
No.
We would be amoral at best because we're just following instructions.
Yeah, good little soldiers.
That's confusing, obedience with morality, and they're not the same thing.
Right, but I'm not bringing up theism or like divine command theory or anything like that.
Okay,
that's why I specifically said secular morality.
Right.
So the ultimate answer is it is not ever objectively immoral to rape a child. It's just not. It's just a matter of opinion.
Again, you're using your definition of objective and planting that on us. That is not how we define objective. Not like that. So that statement does not make sense.
Objective by saying, you defined objective by saying if I determine it's objective, which is by definition subjective.
Isn't that an interesting problem?
I don't. I mean,
isn't it?
I don't find it as a problem. It's like
it's definitely a problem. The problem of induction is something that is horrible, but we're stuck with it. Instead of saying where does it come from, say why is it the case that we behave this way?
But isn't it? If I say my subjective opinion leads me to my objective opinion, it's still subjective. Like the word objective shouldn't even.
Right. Okay. So let's go with this. It strikes a chord in you that sexually assaulting a child, trigger warning as we're moving into this for people, is wrong, right? It hits you at your core. Is that correct?
Yes, me.
Okay, cool. If a God told you that it was okay, would you now think that it is objectively okay?
No, I would think I had a mental disorder.
And so therein is the rub.
Yeah.
You are a moral agent, and confusing your moral agency with the dictate of some other arbitrary moral agent, it doesn't get you anywhere, man. The fact is we as a society have codified what we've determined, and that codification, that law, is where it's at, and that is what the best that we can come up with when it comes to objectives. But I don't think an objective can exist outside of us. And if you think it does, or you want to minimize the fact that that there's not some father figure in the sky dictating it to us, then I guess the word objective has absolutely no meaning. Because if objective only comes from God, then congratulations, you've co-opted objective. Good job. I can give you a cookie, but that's the end of the conversation.
Well, I never brought God into the conversation. I don't know why you guys still want to bring God into it.
because the thing is, as an atheist, there are tons of other atheists that I have everything that I disagree with them on. There are so many different flavors of atheist that to treat atheism as a position, especially when it comes to morality, it's misunderstanding atheism. You're talking about humanism, and as a humanist, even I have a lot. I have a lot of differences with other people, and so I can't get there. You know what I mean? Atheism, being an atheist, is not a belief system. It's not this codified set of tenets that has different rituals and dogma. No, it's just the rejection of the assertion. You asked.
Atheist. I just said is secular morality. You're
right.
Never said you guys are atheists. Do you guys believe in this? I just said,
Jonathan, you're totally right. You're totally right. I'm looking at the notes. It says is secular morality objective. You're right. I took us off course there. That's my bad. I need to own that. I'm sorry that happened.
You guys have a lot of conversations. It's easy to get confused.
Yeah.
So if
go ahead and
we have to leap to conclusions a lot.
Yeah. We do have 4 more callers we want to get to, but I want you to get the chance to talk to us about what you wanted to call in about.
Yeah. So, I mean, I guess the answer is, from your perspective, if I'm understanding you correctly, morality is subjective, and as uncomfortable as it might feel or sound, if you're going to be intellectually honest, the answer, is it immoral to rape a child, has to be no.
No. It could be yes. Because what's the goal of your morality? For people to live together in peace and harmony? If that's the goal, I think we have established that abusing children is not a way to achieve that goal. And so by definition, that would be immoral.
And people are wondering in the chat why we're talking about this. There's an argument for morality that asserts that a God has to exist because objective morality needs to exist. The fact is, I described a way that we can have objective morality. You reject it, and that's fine. But the fact that you're rejecting it and then putting it on us that we still need to use your definition doesn't make sense. So when you asked that loaded question, I have to say we need to stop, rewind, and recognize each other's definitions.
Yeah, that's always a good idea. But what was my loaded question?
The loaded question was, can it be objectively immoral for the sexual assault of a child, right?
Maybe I don't know what a loaded question is because I don't see how that's a loaded question.
Sure, absolutely. So loaded in that is your definition of objective. Your definition of objective carries with it the God belief already.
But how do you know that? I have not defined objective.
Because what is objective morality outside of divine command theory? I mean, let's not dance around the fact that that's what the call is about.
No, it's not.
Okay, how does objective morality exist outside of there being a God?
All of these assumptions about me. Why are you making
Jonathan?
Assumptions about me all of a sudden?
Sure. I'm super curious. This will be the last question before we move on to the next call. Jonathan, how do you have objective morality without a God or a divine command theory?
I don't. Without a God, I don't.
Okay. Do you think?
I'm honest with myself and saying that without an objective morality, that only leaves subjective morality. So the claim, it is not immoral to rape a child, has to be true by logical deduction alone.
That is if you tie objective to a God, and I don't. If you say objective needs to have a God, then you've co-opted the word objective and I can't use it, which is, I mean, whatever, it's weird. But the fact is, I can go to the store and that can be my objective, right? And we can, as a society, create objectives. And so long as we are basing those objectives in the same way, then we can say that something is objectively moral or immoral. You need agency to do that.
So maybe it would be better to remove the word subjective and objective and just say, is it immoral to rape a child? And if you say
yes, it is immoral.
Explain to me what makes it immoral. Well, okay, why?
So we're defining morality as something we should or shouldn't do, right? We're talking about ought. And I think that morality has everything to do with well-being. And is it in that child's well-being to be assaulted? No. Ta-da.
Okay.
Do you get someone operating better in society after having experienced that? No.
No, but then again, that's the effect. We're not talking about the effect. We're talking about the cause.
Yeah, now we're going in circles. But Jonathan, I appreciate the call. I know that we went off topic a little bit. Dennis, you all right there, buddy?
Yeah, I'm okay.
Well, yeah, right. I don't know how Christianity and God and the divine command theory came up because I didn't mention any of that stuff. I mean,
because, dude,
it was like straw man.
No, it absolutely. Hold on. You've called in as an honest actor. Let's make sure you remain an honest actor. Because if you were to say that there was no implicit deity or divine command theory in objective morality, then when I asked you what would that look like, you responded that it would need to have a God. It would need to have a divine commander because it would be nonsensical otherwise. So you carried that assumption with you into the conversation. Don't try and say that that's not the case. That's fine. Just recognize your assumptions.
Divine command theory, but I said I don't believe in divine command theory.
Okay, then you don't believe in then you have a weird definition of objective. I feel like that's a waste of time then. Anyway, Jonathan, thank you for calling.